the interpreter crazy. Let me first thanks for the privilege to be here, surrounded by many colleagues that I had the pleasure to work in the region already, and to really learn about what other organizations are doing. Because of the limited time, like our colleague had emphasized, that we have available, I will focus on a little bit of an overview. We are very close by. We are available. You can always reach out to the World Bank for additional follow-up in terms of any of the activity that I will quickly mention this morning, and we can think about how to support your country. So it's interesting to come after the remarks by John and by Jennifer, because very much our three views complement each other, and this is a very important point. For us, as a World Bank, corruption has always been an issue related to development. We started to be interested in corruption, and as you well know, because it undermines sustainable and inclusive development. Because of that, we put it on our priority area for engagement with country. And this is a little bit a complementary angle to come in, and you will see especially the implication for the work that we are now developing related to organized crime. There are three quick elements, entry point, we call them, when it comes to anti-corruption work. We work at the country level with various engagement, technical assistance and support. We work to ensure that our projects are actually delivering the intended objective and reaching the intended beneficiary. So we very much applied the same level of integrity for the work that we do. And we then work at the global level, fostering partnership collaboration, like where we are today, to make sure that we exploit the synergy that there are between different organizations. We have various ways in which we have worked, focused on anti-corruption that has to do with a little bit, this is a menu of the activity that we do. We strengthen the regulatory, the legal system. Then we support how this system can be implemented, not just the laws, the introduction of the law, but also the implementation of the laws, the actual implementation. We focus on accountability, institution and system. How can we strengthen them? We try to improve transparency and access to information. Very important for us, that has not been mentioned yet, is the element of improving the professionalization of the civil service. There are those that very much implement the policy and make sure that the laws that are being passed by the government are actually then implemented in a fair, transparent and accountable way. We also build capacity of the civil service, of the private sector, of citizens. We have now even started to collaborate with different governments to advise how to build capacity also of the new generation, those that will be the civil servant of the future. Because it's very important to plant seeds today for what will be the integrity and governance of the future. And we also support the development of strategy of proper anti-corruption strategy through diagnostic. This was the old, this is our current traditional anti-corruption work. Two things I wanted to flag for you, and this report are publicly available. We started to focus on one specific type of corruption that is called state capture. When you have specific vested interests that start to influence the policy and the laws of a country. And then we also started to be much more open about the issue of organized crime, especially in Latin America. These two reports came out and helped us to then build on the platform that we had already of anti-corruption work, focusing more on the link between traditional corruption as we think of it, state capture and influence, and organized crime. How do we think about this? We've taken a very much a data-driven approach, focus on modernizing the state and making sure that we promote transparency and accountability. one of the key points for us is to ensure that there is accountability. So here are the 5 areas where we have been focused, and I will quickly go over. First, data. We now have a lot of tools that we didn't have 20 years ago, 10 years ago. This allows us to actually use information and data to be able to identify where there are risks, where we can take preventive action to reduce the potential risk of the future, and where we can actually engage to correct and reduce the interference of both potential capture of illegal interest and organized crime. We also have focused a lot on how to make the procurement process using this data and analytics, strengthen it both for the project of the World Bank and at the country level to ensure integrity, especially of large type of procurement, highlighting through all this data that is available already to government, how we can have a red flag system that can help us to navigate this. And we have supported, like our colleague Jennifer was mentioning, the introduction of dashboard, a platform that can help us to communicate and share information for citizens, for business, for the government, to ensure that there is greater light and transparency. But this is only one part of the story. There is transparency, there is information. So then we figured out that the other side of the coin is what I was stressing before, is the accountability. We needed to manage resources well, and when there is an issue, we needed to make sure that at the country level, there is accountability, that we start to reverse the culture of impunity that we have seen in some countries, not just in Latin America. I cover Latin America and globally many other countries, so that we can actually ensure that there is a follow-up once an issue is detected. So we also support very much the modernization and the strengthening of the public sector, of all the accountability institutions, of the justice sector. And we push to ensure at the sector level, so let me explain a little bit of this, for example, in education, in health, the management of natural resources, not just the integrity system for the country, but how things are operating in the health sector, in the education sector, in the SOE, the state-owned enterprise, and how they're managed. Because for us it's very important that unless we begin to address and build this institution and strengthen them, we cannot implement the reform for development that we think are necessary. We also, as I was mentioning before, very much use the new data that is available to strengthen the procurement process and the integrity of the procurement process. We build on this risk map and also on the beneficial ownership work that the World Bank is leading. We then, linking what our colleague John was mentioning, we focus on are the illicit financial flows at the global level. And we try to really provide a tool to government on how they can begin to have system at the country level that can really help them to track these flows, identify them, create this beneficial ownership registry, create a grouping of like-minded colleagues that can help to address some of these issues that they are new and require joint solutions that they are innovative. Last one, and the collaboration for us is very important. Let me be very frank. The mandate of the World Bank sometimes limits us in what we can do when it comes to organized crime, state capture. And what we have realized that is very important to establish very close partnership with the government, but also with other organizations, where we can complement each other, both in terms of the tools that we have available, the function that we have, the responsibility that we have. And so while we have a system of sanction investigation and referral, and we have a fantastic initiative that is about 20 years old, the Stolen Asset Recovery Initiative, or STAR, that is a collaboration between the World Bank and the UNODC, we realized that we need to do this as part of a global architecture of collaboration. Thank you so much.